Welcome back, everyone, to your favorite movie review channel with its ever so lovely host, Peter Man of Man Cinema Reviews. That's me. What's up, y'all? On today's episode, we're going to get into the chilling prequel of The Omen, the First Omen. But before we get to that, let's go ahead and press like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell as well to notify you of any and all reviews to this channel. Thank you very much for choosing Man Cinema Reviews. The film centers on a woman starting to question her own faith when she uncovers a terrifying conspiracy to bring about the birth of evil incarnate in Rome. Now, this is set in the 1970s, I believe 71, early 70s, and the woman in question is Sister Margaret. She is coming to Italy in order to be among an orphanage of nuns, and things aren't as kosher as she thinks they are. The city that she is staying in is in turmoil. There's taking the nightlife of Italy. But this is where the story is going to get thick. She's going to come in contact with a Father Brennan, played by Ralph Ineson, and that's where she will learn about a baby that was born of basically the spawn of the devil, and she has the mark of the 666. And so this is when Margaret and a couple others in the orphanage band together in order to find out the truth of what is going on, and that's when there is a whirlwind of events that, you know, just take hold of the characters in this film. And what I liked about this film off the bat is that it gives enough homage to a nearly 50-year-old horror staple, and that is of The Omen. I believe in 1976, starring Gregory Peck, and that film is one of the best horror films of the genre, and it, I think, spawned, no pun intended, 2 sequels, a remake in 2006, and now we have this prequel, The First Omen. Protests that are going on, the world is changing, and with that, Margaret meets another nun that's going to be taking her vows named Luce. And the two are not staying at the orphanage, strangely, but like at a hostel nearby. And before they take their vows, they go out on a night at a discotheque. They meet 2 young men, and then, you know, drinking ensues. You got dancing, music, and that's when Margaret kind of, you know, lets go of all of her inhibitions. This cast is great as well. You have a newcomer by the name of Nell, who plays Margaret, Ralph Ineson, Bill Nighy, and a short performance by Charles Dance. And so with that, I think that it gets all of the homage, it gets all of the vibes. It's set in Italy, it's a period piece. And so you get the vibes of the original, the film The Omen, which I didn't know was a Richard Donner film. Just a great film. I remember seeing it. It's been quite some time since I've seen it, but there are just like iconic sequences. You know, the woman professing, "This is all for you," to Damien, which is the spawn, the devil reincarnate, if you will. And so in this film, we follow Margaret and her uncovering the conspiracy of this orphanage and who does she trust. I really do like the fact that this film is a film that runs parallel with a film that I just recently reviewed, and that is Immaculate. Very similar films about young women going to take their vows and become nuns are basically giving birth to the devil reincarnate. And this speaks to just the modern times of the overturn of Roe v. Wade, what the autonomy of women, or what they, you know, can and can't do with their bodies, what the government is saying they are allowed to do. You know, who are we to impose that on women? You know, there is that slippery slope of, you know, pro-choice, pro-life, and whether you are religious, you be brought up as Catholic. It makes for a great juxtaposition of these two films, and I think maybe I was a little bit too hard on Immaculate. However, I did have my reservations of how great that film looks and how well it's shot, and Sweeney's performance. However, I just felt like there wasn't enough meat on the bones with Immaculate. Whereas I think with The First Omen, and it's just, you know, it comes from a staple of a iconic horror film, and it does a lot more than Immaculate does. And it, you know, basically being the same film, the vibes are there, the cinematography is great, the score is haunting, and this is also directed by a woman. I think because the film Immaculate, which I said was the director's first film, I believe that the director had directed 3 films prior, one starring Sydney Sweeney called The Voyeurs, which I previously reviewed and had forgotten that was the same director. So here I am making that correction. But I like the fact that this is actually the directorial debut of a female director. I think it's important to tell stories that are about women, and it's great to see that the director at the helm is a woman in the perspective and the voice of a woman. Arkasha Stevenson is the directorial debut. I think she did a wonderful job. I think she got the vibes of the original Omen, and she builds upon the story. I think that with all the praise that I have for its cast, the cinematography, its haunting score, I think it tells a better story than the film Immaculate. However, it's not without its faults. I think that the third act really wraps up nice and neatly in a way that also opens up kind of a setting up of a series. I just don't like the turn of this film where it feels like a calling of all characters in the form of Marvel's Avengers, where all the characters have to meet up and then they're setting up what seems to be a sequence of films. Hopefully it doesn't do that. First Omen feels like it's a standalone film. It doesn't need to build upon what already has happened with what is to come with the original The Omen. But The First Omen really knocks it out of the park, and it makes for a very strong horror film in 2024. One of the best in my opinions. I will say that with its faults, I think with that last turn, it does feel like a blemish, but I can overlook it. I think The First Omen is extremely solid, one of the finest horror films of this year, and I will give it a solid 4 out of 5 stars. What did you think about this film? Have you seen The First Omen? Let me know down in the comments down below, and we'll see you on the next one. Peace.